React got your twisted code, convoluted mess. Thinking you a champ, but yo, you just second guess. Promises sweet, but illusions they dress. JavaScript jungle, damn, you in distress. Mixing state and prop, stacking on that hype. Code base bloated, about to take a snipe. Hypnotized by hookups, drowning that type. While thinking that you clean, you just ain't ripe. Spit fire on React, got that code in the bond. Faking genius, fooling the blind. False sense of glory, complex in your mind. Spreading poison lines, wasting your grind. Fragile framework, breaking with a touch. Promise of easy, but delivers too much. Mind locked up, boxing you clutch. Drowning in components, suffers every crutch. Claiming you the future, but bringing that heat. Messing with your logic, code incomplete. Cascade confusion, messing up beats. Programmer pride, ship but defeat. Spit fire on React, got that code in the bind. Faking genius, fooling the blind. False sense of glory, complex in your mind. Spreading poison lines, wasting your grind. We have got you feeling fly, cold in the mess. Building complex websites, bro, what a stress. Dumbing down devs, making them feel blessed. Lost in the JSX, call it a fucking test. Dependencies stacked like a dealer's stash. Props flowing everywhere, what a fucking clash. Flexing on GitHub, but your skills don't flash. Lost in abstraction, homie, that's trash.
Travis lost.
React is just a bluff. JavaScript wizards acting tough. Wrapped in components, ain't no cuff.
Travis.
Slaves to frameworks, had enough. Virtual DOM, think it's slick, you novice. Real world call, show your lack of prowess. Promise chains breaking, fuck your solace. Code base tangle worse than fucking shoelaces. State management, bro, need some meds. Reducer functions killing my fucking head. Redux context, spinning threads. Real devs cut through, no React feds.
What's up, Pure?
React is just a bluff.
What's up, Travis? What's up, Black Panda? What's up, Travis?
Wrapped in components, ain't no cuff. Slaves to frameworks, had enough.
Okay. Turn off the music. What's up, everyone? Let me know how your weekend's doing, your long Easter weekend. Hope you're all doing well. Good to see you. Good to see you all. Every single one of you. Hang on, let me turn on one of the other lights in the room. One sec. Chat amongst yourselves for a minute, shall you? All right. All right. Listen, folks. I have no idea what this stream is going to be. Okay, I truly don't. I really, really don't. I kind of have two choices, or a mixture of two. One way or another, I'm going to work on the game. I was on this already. Like, it's too late for that. It's happening. It's either going to happen during the stream as we chat away, or after the stream. I don't know. The other thing that could happen is I could go on a completely unhinged Alex Jones conspiracy rant. And I might maybe do both. I might maybe do both. I don't know. Um, I do have something. I do have a few things to talk about. I'm trying to set up the camera and stuff. Like I just want to make sure the screen is like looking correct. And I look over at chat and I see game dev and then I see conspiracy. I see Travis with game dev and then Shreyas says conspiracy. Listen, I'm just gonna be honest. Travis has more pull around here than Shreyas will ever have. Okay. Travis has more pull than Shreyas will ever have. It's just how it is. Okay, Shreyas does not have the kind of weight that he thinks he does. What's up, 3D Code Warrior? How you doing, man? Good to see you. You're floating because you lack the weight. I know. I know. I know, Shreyas. It's a hard life. It's a hard life for you. But it is what it is. I'm going to be honest. I do not fully remember where I left off yesterday. I wasn't doing this on stream yesterday, but I left off somewhere yesterday with the game stuff here. I have a feeling did I get my sailing? No, not this one. When you sail around the world. Oh yeah, I have a new UI, by the way. I haven't really shown this off, but I think this is the one I'm going to settle on for now until we get to the point where there's enough time for us to work on a much better looking UI. I don't have the time or the eyeballs for it, so it is what it is. And I did have the previous UI working so that like all the navigation buttons and stuff were working, so you could just use the gamepad and go like up, down, left, right, or whatever, and it would highlight and all that good stuff that would happen on a console. That is working. It's just not doing the highlighting, so you can't tell that it's working here. So that might be something I do a quick fix on. Aha, okay. Get out of my way, ship. Stupid random moving ship in my way. Let me just go over and portage my way across the land. If any of you know what portage means, you're a nerd. Am I using React? Never. Never. It's literally, it's just vanilla. You can tell that I'm not using React because of how simple the UI is. It's just a border and a drop shadow. And then like a gradient color. That's it. Even the background here on the stripes, it's just a bunch of stripes as a background image repeated. That's it. This isn't React. With React, this would look way better. With React, okay, with React, it would look like this. This is how React would look. Don't look at the network tab or the fact that I'm hovering over the links over and over and over again. Something I've showed on the stream for at least a few months has not been solved. Probably because they don't think it needs to be solved. Probably because they think this is perfectly normal. This is a completely normal use case. Just saying. Are they cached at least? No. No. No, they're not, Shreyas. They're not cached. I personally think it'd be awesome if you wrote a software renderer from scratch and write your own UI in C. Travis, bro, I just got to this point. Why are you doing this to me, Travis? I just got to the point where the UI is like finalized and it's all vanilla HTML. Okay, and I'm using it to prove a point about HTML that you don't need stupid crap like React. Okay, and then you're like, why'd you do it in C, bro? Why'd you punch card it? Why'd you assembly it? Which are fair questions, but damn you for asking them. It's not even dynamic content. Why are they not caching it? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Because React. That's why. Because React. Because React. That's why. I'm a Giga Chat. I can handle it. Damn you. No, Travis. I never said you were logical. Okay? I never said you were logical. What I said was, why would you ask me a question that is a good question, but comes at a very bad... No, it's... I'm not doing this. I'm not arguing with you, Travis, all right? React doesn't force you to not cache. What? Trace? Wait. Trace, are you using a double negative? What? Well, it doesn't force you to not cache, so it must be. Good, fine. I don't know what you're trying. It's a pile of flaming trash. But because there's logic in the question, so it is logical. I don't exactly know. I don't exactly know how to attack that without just like breaking my brain. This is a skill issue by the React Docs site team. It is a skill issue. Yeah, you did. You broke me in less than 5 minutes. Only Travis can do that. However, the React site like this should be the showcase for the best and brightest of React. And I have a hard time taking it seriously when I go to their showcase website so that you can learn about React. It's one of the showcase websites, at least one, right? There's probably 2 or 3 overall. And this is how it operates. When the people who are supposedly behind the framework and are pushing for the use of said framework end up using it like this, which seems just a fundamental lack of awareness on how the web operates. Are they using Next? Probably. They probably have funding from Theo and React Miami. The best and brightest of React is your goddamn heatsink burning bright, trying to cool your CPU because of all the waste. I'm not joking. There's actually some truth to that. My laptop fans right now are going brrr. Yeah, right now. As soon as I opened up this website, they started to go brrr. I'm not even kidding. So, like, there's truth to that, right? I could do this forever. I could just do this forever. Why? Why is this happening? I'm already at 9 megs, and it's almost a mega shot. Weak laptop. Shut up, Shreyas. Like, this is it anyway. However, if I was to build my game in React, it would look beautiful. What the hell did I just stumble on? None of these look beautiful. What the hell? I have accidentally stumbled onto something. All of these websites look the same, bro. All of these websites look the same. The aw awards. Like, aw. So beautiful. And the flag is websites and React. And all of them look the same. They're flat. This one here is the one with like the most character. Yeah, they look like PowerPoint templates. Yeah. Okay. Okay, look. I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say that this UI looks way better than this. What the? I get an ad too. Yeah. This is all just cookie cutter flat design. There's no character here. Except maybe like one or two, right? Like one or two of these websites have a little bit of character in them. Modern, natural, that care. Okay, I look. Now both look just as bad. Shut up, Shreyas. My UI looks like a game from 2006. Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of does. That might not be a bad thing. But I can agree. That might not be a bad thing. Maybe that's what I work on just a little bit. Just work on some of the UI and then just kind of briefly maybe just talk a little bit about my conspiracies while I'm doing that. There's definitely some UI that needs to be resolved here. Yeah, see I have the key. Yeah, I have the key bindings all set up still. Yeah, okay. Now if yeah, it's working. Perfect. So I just have to do a little bit of UI here. I'm not even using Tailwind V420, bro. I know. 69 I need more ease. It's true, I need more ease. Yeah. What's up, Battle? Good to see you, man. What's up, Sneaky? Holy crap, Sneaky's here. It's been a hot minute, Sneaky. How you doing? Greetings, fellow carbon-based bipeds. That's an assumption you're making. Did you just assume my naturalistic structure? How dare you, Battle? You're good? Good, Sneaky. Good to see you. Cancelled, yeah. Okay, so I can work on some UI. We'll do a chill stream and then I'll talk about my conspiracy. And then what you guys can do is I do actually have some articles and what I think is some evidence that goes to my conspiracy. So you know what? Let's go crazy. I'm going to work on the UI while talking about the conspiracy and engaging with chat. All right. We're going to go all out. We're going to do it all. Hey, Osabi. This is basically a magazine print design intersecting with websites. It mostly comes from advertising. It's always trying to sell you something, which is why it feels so dead inside. Osabi, yeah, okay, that makes a ton of sense then. Shreyas, shut up. Shut up. Don't encourage Travis. Okay, that makes sense, Osabi. Because I suppose then it would be targeted against those kinds of websites. And so, yeah, okay. Okay, fair. All right, Sabi, it's fair. That's fair. You guys are being fair, okay? I want to trash talk React websites and say they all look the same. But you know what? F you, Sabi, all right? F you. I choose to not agree with you, okay? I don't agree with you. Let's go look at any other website that has nothing to do with advertising websites, okay? I choose to not believe you, all right? Shit. These are all advertising websites. And most of them are the ones we saw before. Fine. I'm out of here. Okay. I'm not looking at this anymore. I don't like the path this is going down. Let's work on the UI. Look at Clay UI. I have looked at Clay UI. I don't like Clay. I still say you learning how to make a software renderer and actually making one would be hella interesting to watch. But it did. Look, Travis, if I do that, it betrays the point of the way that I'm doing it. Unless I could incorporate HTML somehow, the entire point of why I did it this way with like web components and HTML like built into them, and then like an immediate mode GUI just re-rendering the entire set of HTML like every frame. That's actually what's happening right now in most cases. The point is to demonstrate that for a video game like this, you don't need a framework, and you can still get extremely complicated scenarios working just fine with a little bit of effort. If I go the software renderer route, then I just completely step away from that. I'm in a whole different realm. You've already demonstrated it. I'm not in full. No, I don't. You don't. No, not in full. I still have some things that I need to demonstrate. For example, there's still an argument. I'm not going to give away the argument because then people can use it against me. It's up to other people to figure out the arguments against me. But there is an argument to be made against the way that I've done this game. And you can like excuse away and go, well, you did it this way, and here's an argument why your like the way you're doing it isn't exactly what you think it is. So yeah, I still have some bases to cover. I don't think I'm ready for it. You can make a software renderer that renders to the canvas. I can, but again, it escapes the HTML. No, the principle. No, you guys are. No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna put a hard line here. It's not happening right now. It's not happening right now. I am not done with the HTML portion of things. There is still a lot left to do. Okay, so hard line. You guys are not getting away with this. Okay, you can't do this to me. You're not doing it. I am impervious to your attacks. No, not right now. In the future. Okay, in the future, 100% yes. In the future, oh yeah, 100% that is happening. Like, yes. And there is a path that I'm trying to follow. No, it won't be a side project. It's going to be an extension of the argument that I'm starting with regards to having the HTML as the first pass of this, and then subsequently adding on top. 100% I'm going to do the software-based rendering in a variety of different ways. And it actually all links back to the principles of the project and why the tech industry has lost their minds. But for the time being, I need to stick and finish to the HTML. I am quite close to finishing it. Quite close. There are 2, maybe 3 final arguments out of like the 20 arguments I've already destroyed by hand on why HTML is not as bad to handle in raw format as people think it is. I only have 2 or 3 arguments left to destroy. I'm going to get those destroyed very soon. And then we just expand from there. And software rendering, yeah, man. Yeah, no problem. Totally in for that. 100% in for that. I can't wait either, Travis. I can't wait either. Sabby, I worked in advertising when I was 17 to 22, and it was some of the most soul and passionate sucking work I ever did. Advertising people, especially the higher ups, are insane too. Many of the people I worked with were high on narcotics, as I later learned. We worked with very prestigious companies, many of them dropping millions on campaigns like it was nothing. Whoa, Sabby, there's a lot to break down there. So how about this? Let's get serious. I'm gonna try and upgrade some of the UI while I tackle this. What's up, Mist? Good to see you. She's a ship to supply. So I have to agree Okay, so Sabby, this might sound like I'm kind of going off on like a different path than what you were just describing, but just hear me out for just a second. Um, um, yeah, I'll get to you, Shreyas. I'll get to you, buddy. Don't worry. I'll answer you. So an extension of what you just described, right? So Sabby just described working with advertising people who did not who basically sucked the life out of the things that they were doing in the advertising space. I'm going to do an extension of that from a personal experience I've had that I find to be rather consistent, and it might sound like I'm talking about something different, but I'm not. I'm really not. So when I worked, I got to be careful how I say it. When I have worked at some companies, let's put it that way. At some companies I've worked at, there's usually a sales team, right? I think generally speaking, we can all agree there's usually a sales team. Okay, so it's div class UI panel that I want, not inner text. Is it as simple as doing this? I believe that it is actually that simple, but let me check. So the sales team at the company, let's pretend for a moment that you are, oh yeah, okay, now we're talking. Let's pretend for a moment that you're working at a company that sells bespoke web solutions. Let's go with that. Okay, so I want UI panel, I want the list header and the list item. So the bespoke solutions would be something like, if you come to us with like a particular set of requirements, let me get my ships list here. For like, we need a website that like when you, I don't know, when you go to the website, you can have a search button and it searches from some database, and then it presents some information to the user. Like just, take your pick. It could be anything. And the sales team is tasked with tracking down customers who want these things. Now, what I have experienced, kind of to what Sabby was talking about on the Twitch side, is that if you happen to not have the requirements of a company, so like if there's a potential customer and they ask, well, we want requirements X, Y, or Z, and you don't have them, but you have to sell your company, right? You want to get that work. So what do? And I've seen this countless times. You say you have it. You say you have it. Oh yeah, we've got it. You barely even talk to the executives to just like confirm that you have it. No, your primary goal is to sell that you have it. So what you say is, yeah, we have it. And then what you do is you essentially kick the can down the road where you go, well, even if we don't have it, it's okay because I got the sale. We'll figure it out later. And then the executives get looped in if they weren't already looped in, and they go, crap. I mean, I'm glad you got the job, but I wish you hadn't said that because we don't actually have it. We don't actually have the requirements built into our system, whatever it is we're building. Like you said, we did. So this is a problem. So then what happens? Well, you can see how that has a like multiplicative bad set of results down the chain. And then what that causes is kind of very similar to what Sabby is explaining, which is at the end of the day, you suck the life, the soul out of what you're building because you're no longer building a thing. You're building a thing you promised, which doesn't actually exist. I need that. Okay, I see. So even sales and executives, when it comes to, well, what are we building and can we build something that we're proud of, they often screw themselves over. And advertising is what? It's sales, right? It's just like a slightly different variation on what sales are. So I actually completely agree. But I also agree to the point where I think that the problem is far more insidious. It's far more, what would you call it? Widespread, I want to say. Like it's a lot worse than that. There we go. Now that's looking a little better. If I click on that, yeah. Nice. Okay, let's get that button sorted out. And part of the reason why I think this happens, to be fair, is that there isn't, like, everybody thinks that their job has some kind of like an art form to it. And most of the time that's actually kind of true. So the sales guy will be like, yeah, but there's an art to selling, right? And yeah, that's true. Like a good sales guy is going to have some kind of technique or some abilities or experience that make him like a master of the craft, so to speak. But that's kind of the purview of the nature of the job. That's where it starts and ends. And so you don't think about the people who have to work with you, whether you're good at your job or bad at your job. So the sales guy who got that big contract from another company by selling them stuff that didn't actually exist in your company, and now you're under the gun to go, build an entire complicated set of whatever it is, requirements. That sales guy didn't consider your craft and how well you can do your craft. What they considered was, can I do my craft? Can I do what I need to do and get the sale? So I think the classes button. Crap, I have completely lost. Let me just go back to wishing to set sale. Down here, the classes button. Do I have another one here? Oh, I do. It's right here. Okay, perfect. Let's do this, I guess. Let's see how this looks like. So then what that necessarily leads to is somebody along the way is not going to be able to, hey, that works too, is not going to be able to properly do their craft, even if they're really good at it, because somebody else screwed it up for them. So I think, Sabby, to your point, I don't just believe it in terms of like advertising. I believe it's a more like far wider systemic issue where people like don't really care about how their stuff impacts everyone else around them. My argument is raw dropping HTML doesn't scale with larger apps. You will end up with an internal framework. No, I disagree, Shreyas. I disagree. You would have to prove to me that raw dogging HTML doesn't scale with larger apps. You would have to have proof to that effect. I am building proof to the effect of my argument. You would have to have proof to the effect of your argument, and you don't. All you have proof of is when people opted for a different decision because it was too hard, not because it was not scalable. The argument is different. Being too hard is not the same as not being scalable or impossible. Okay, so that did work. So maybe let's do this one. Supply stuff for ship. Now, as it so happens, this conversation about the people who suck the life out of what should otherwise be a pretty powerful art form goes into my conspiracy theory. Hang on. Raw dogging HTML does scale to larger apps. Saying it doesn't is the same argument as saying you must use OOP in larger projects. Nope, you don't. Yeah, exactly. You don't. You that's an assertion. It needs proof. You would need to prove that you attempted. You know what? I don't even know if you could. I'm not actually sure you could even prove what scaled, whether HTML was handling the scale of an app appropriately or not, because that is somewhat more subjective. Your terms would have to be based completely in objective metrics. And I'm not even sure you can find objective metrics to say that HTML scaled that way. correctly. Because it's not just about like whether or not you could do it in the moment, but it's also the long-term consequences of what happens if you just stuck to HTML and scaled with just raw HTML, regardless of initial pain points, versus switching to a framework that alleviated those scalability issues over the long term. So it might even actually be a hard one to prove anyways. We might be asking the impossible out of Shreyas here. Just for context, this was in the 2000s, around the time Flash was huge. What you're talking about, the overpromise and underdelivery mentality, was on steroids in advertising. Yeah, I had to pull many all-nighters because of poor executive decisions. However, advertising is just devoid of soul to begin with. The whole point is to sell people a lie. I quit the industry because it felt immoral to me. Yeah, so I don't have any metrics, so I don't have to worry about anything objective. It's great, Mike. Good to see you, Mike. So, like, why would somebody need to sell you a lie? And actually, this ties into the conspiracy theory quite a bit. I'll keep working on the game here, get some UI updated while I talk about this, and then maybe I'll bring up an article or two. The reason why somebody would want to sell you a lie is because either they don't want you to know the truth, or the truth is, let's say, in opposition to their goals. Supply, ship. Here we go. I need to put a class on this. Now, if the truth is in opposition to their goals, then part of selling you a lie is to obscure the truth. Sometimes the truth being in opposition to their goals could be something like, well, if you knew the truth, then I wouldn't be able to operate in this space. Sometimes it's just, I am just completely like antithetical to what the truth is. So I'm just going to, I don't know, just to kind of ignore the truth and kind of make up a lie as my own truth, and it supports what I'm saying, and that's how I'm going to operate. Now, regardless of what the reasoning is for selling you a lie, ultimately what it comes down to, when you boil it all down, I don't like the way this looks. Let me just wrap everything up in a panel, maybe. No matter which way you look at it, it boils down to the truth would, if you knew the truth, it would fundamentally make it so that I could not operate in that space. Have a good one, Travis. Have a good night. And I think we're actually seeing this come. There we go. That's better. Come true currently, where you are the product, your information, and like you as the user pay for a product so that you also become the product, because then the companies that you've already paid for just further make money by selling your data. And the reason is because somewhere deep down inside, you know that the thing you're using is devoid of soul. You know it. It doesn't work well. It's not like it's not a very good piece of software. It's not a very good website or whatever it is. The application sucks. Whatever you want to, whatever criticism you want to levy at it. Deep down inside, you know it. And if companies had to face the fact that they've essentially doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on poor programming practices that have made it so that they do not know how to properly build software and websites and all this stuff, they would lose on a whole bunch of money. So what they're hoping for is that you double down with them, and then they in turn take your money, your information, and make more money that they might otherwise make if they actually knew how to build something of substance. So they have to sell you a lie. It's all lies packaged up in lies. That's all it is. And sales is a great way to do that because it's historically known to work that way. That's how it works. There we go. Okay, so I got to fix these buttons. So then I would wonder, aside from the companies who are suffering from a lack of ability to properly sell themselves, and so they have to utilize tactics, sales tactics that are, fundamentally flawed, and they don't actually present the truth, right? So just so you guys know, I have a bunch of CSS styles that I've created. Well, actually, it's not a bunch. It's like, I don't know, 10 at most, that I've created to generate this UI look and feel here. And I already have the functionality for the buttons and stuff working. You can see like the buttons are increasing and whatnot. All I'm doing is, while I'm talking about my conspiracy theory, because Sabby on Twitch brought it up, I'm just updating the styles because I figured, like, why the hell not? Let's see how much of a amazing developer I am if I can, do code while I talk about my conspiracy theory. So who benefits from software kind of decline, and then the selling of your data in order to make up for the fact that nobody can build proper software and websites? Obviously, the first answer would be the companies that are losing money. Where's this button from? Is it right here? It's right here. Okay. So the companies that are losing money are obviously the ones who want to ensure that you continue to purchase on a subscription basis. I mean, we can all remember a time when you did not have to purchase a subscription for almost anything. And that wasn't too long ago. We're talking probably 20 years ago. That is not a very long time in the grand scheme of things. But subscriptions were not as prevalent as they are today. So they need you to purchase the subscription on things that ultimately should not need a subscription. Once they're done, they should be done, generally speaking, with exceptions, of course. And then they sell your data. So of course it's going to be the companies that want you to do that benefit. They're the first level of benefit. However, I'm going to make a conspiracy based with very little proof argument that it's not just these companies. I need to look at the style of this, because this button, this button is not correct. I think it's 10:54 right now. We'll see. Okay, so let me fiddle around with the button here. I actually think that another, let's say, group of people will put them in a category. Okay, let me go look at icon button class, and the category is group of people who do not care or have the same values that generally most of the viewers on my stream do. Just generally speaking. And they would like to cause as much mayhem and chaos for their own benefit as possible. There is another group of people who would benefit. Where's this style coming from? what was it? Crap. Hang on, let me go find this damn style. I need to just find the style. So if I go over here and I go there and then I go and look at the damn button and then I do this and then I go, so just look for 752 maybe? Let's just go 752. No, here. Okay, let's let that run. No, it's not here either. Increase Atlas image. Oh, I know why. Okay, now I know where it is. Okay, got this. So who else would benefit from having like, this kind of scenario exist where people don't know how to make proper software or websites anymore? They have to sell lies. They have to make you the person who like make money off your data because they don't know how to make money naturally, let's say, etc., etc. I would say that it's people who don't like perhaps our way of life, maybe. That would be my guess. Or who would at least like to profit off of it. So you could think about like hackers and uh, people who exploit like malware and ransomware and stuff like that. They also benefit, whether they like the West or they don't. Doesn't matter. How would they benefit from this? Well, how they would benefit is that they would take advantage of the chaos to infiltrate openings. Openings created by complexity that comes under the guise of we're solving problems. What problems are you solving? You would be solving problems like, yeah, it's the Atlas to style thing here. Like, well, HTML is too hard to scale. You can't scale HTML. If you have a team of 100 people working at a company and they all have to deal with the fact that, you know, things are oversold from a sales team. The sales team will often oversell what a company can do, and they have to work under tight deadlines. And you have all these moving parts and all these people working in all these things, and the executives are putting pressure. And we won't get any more funding if we don't, accomplish this or that. Well, then you kind of force the situation, except it's self-induced. You force it through your own desire to be kind of like lazy or to oversell. It's a self-perpetuating mechanism where your own desire to get ahead actually causes everyone to fall behind. So this is background size. Okay, so we can go BG size, which is an input parameter, and I think I just need to do size. So Atlas to style here would be here. And that's the next one. So what if we just did 2 and we halved it? I think that should help a little bit. Let's just see. Okay, that's better. All right. And solution is not to do capitalism. No, the solution, that's not the solution. It's not about capitalism or communism. I mean, it's kind of funny to think about that, but yeah. So what happens then is that you kind of like self-induce a situation where you are trying to accomplish something, but you can't because you've painted yourself into a corner. We've all been personally victimized by sales teams. Yeah, we have. However, okay, how about for a minute we take away the conspiracy theory, just for a minute, okay? And so you this is the world we live in. We live in a world where sales teams are overpromising, and it makes it next to impossible for you to actually like do quality work with your programming because you're under such tight pressures. Everybody's just pushing for, like the next goal to be met as quickly as possible. And it gets to the point where it's like, consequences be damned. We just have to do this. Just get it done. I don't care about the cost. Right. And then you build like abstractions, like React comes along, or you have other things like, it could be anything, honestly, anything that comes along that says, you have a problem, which is you can't accomplish something in X amount of time. It's too difficult. It doesn't scale, doesn't meet criteria, etc. Here's a solution. It's an abstraction over top of that. And this abstraction is going to save you time because it solves XYZ problems so that you don't have to go and solve them again. And those XYZ problems can scale up with your needs. So you could have like infinite capitalist growth with these abstractions. Can anybody think of a way to capitalize on that? If you're, let's say, of unethical nature, whether as an internal party or an external party, are there any ways to capitalize on that type of kind of like a systemic failure from multiple different parties that ultimately culminate into technology abstraction. Technology abstractions will save us from the problems we've caused for ourselves. I'm sick of sales teams. Honestly, I went to sign an apartment lease yesterday. Keep in mind, I already knew I wanted the apartment. I knew everything it offered. I knew the price, and these dudes still worked very hard to sell it to me as if I didn't already have my mindset on signing it. Yeah, sales can be very sleazy. I Look, I can't talk very much about sales because I'm not a salesperson, and I might have a different opinion if I actually knew more about sales. But from the receiving end, generally, sales is sleazy. Okay, so I think I really have to do is just change the name of these icons here. Actually, what I have to do is change their atlas position. So let's actually spin up the atlas here. Salespeople are forced to do it. I mean, in some cases, but I don't think in all cases. I don't think that's. I don't even know if that's generally true. So we have the up. This, huh? I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to go into UI mode. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull up GIMP, and then we're gonna have to keep plugging away on this while I talk about it. It is generally true. Do you have any data to prove it's generally true? I don't have any data to prove it's generally true or not true. Okay, so I'm gonna be fair. I don't have data to back up my claim either. Okay, so we have to go in here and have to create an up and down arrow, 32 by 32. I've completely forgotten that I didn't do this, so might as well do it now. Here we'll just, whoops, we'll go like that. We'll take this, go like that, and then I'm just gonna do. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Let's see. Let's see. I'll refresh the page. Cloudflare has strict rules about number of people you sell to, or you just lose the job. A lot of companies have similar rules. If you don't show numbers, you're gone. Okay, I can agree with that. Yeah, I do think that is true. I just don't know if it's generally true. I think it's easy to pick companies that have this kind of like mindset about oh crap, I didn't export it, about sales. But I just don't. I don't think you can say that it is a generally true statement. Like I know there, I can't think of them off the top of my head, so you got me there. But I know that there's one or two companies I've heard of where you get a base pay and it's enough for you to just like have a wage like anybody else does and live and be fine. And then anything above that is like gravy. So I just don't think, I'm just not sure that it's actually generally true. In this economy, I don't know. Anyway, 8524. So let me go over here and let me go to the layer Alice map, and then we go icon up arrow, and then I'm going to override this 3232, and it's going to be 8524. Okay, now if I go back here, let's go look at it. Okay, that's looking a lot better. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay, let's do this again then. So we'll go here, take that guy, we'll resize it, go 32. Sure. We'll scale it down like that. Maybe we'll go up one. Yeah, and then we'll export it, and that'll update that. Typically, if someone comes off too sales-minded to me, I just straight up refuse the business. I mean, I don't blame you. You know of a better system because all others have been proven to make everyone equally poor. I'm not sure what you mean, Sabby. Maybe you're talking to someone in chat. Okay, so it's going to be 84.24. Let me go change that. So I can get rid of this. I don't need it. 84.24. Okay, let's see how this looks. Yeah, okay. Much better. Yeah, and the buttons work. The keyboard input, which means the gamepad input would also work. And then sweet. Nice. Okay, we're making progress. A good salesman practice the art of client management. At the end of the day, the client gets a better product on time and under budget. Feels like the agency over delivered for them, while the agency creatives, coders, producers are still in the groove, feeling good about the project, not feeling forced and compromised. That's the way it should be, Battle. Yeah, that's the way it should be. That's right. But that's not the way it is. You can kind of see this true, not just with like websites and software, but video games too. Like if you compare the last, let's say 5 years of, maybe even 10 years of video games that have come out compared to the previous 10 years of video games, do you feel like you get your money's worth, generally speaking? Technology has gotten better, right? Our hardware has become better. We have more abstractions that supposedly solve a lot more problems for us, which supposedly is supposed to make programmers create better things faster, right? That's kind of the promise of all the abstractions that we have. You would think that like video games would be kind of like a frontier of seeing the fruits of that labor play out correctly. Are you getting more value for your video games today than in the past? We have dumber abstractions and even crazier deadlines and at higher prices. Value would be you paid a particular monetary value and you got a fun game that you enjoyed out of it. How often does that happen recently versus in the past? So I broke it down by like the last 10-ish years to the 10 years before that. Oh, I see, Sabby. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Sabby. Okay, so that part's good. Okay, so that UI is mostly up to date. I want to change the hover color on this. I don't like the hover when it's like looking white like that. That's kind of a bad. Maybe I can take table row cell. It's just hypothetical and half a joke. Okay. Okay, well, so what I'll say is, yeah, it's difficult to tell certain things through chat. What I'll say is that there are definitely some people who do benefit. They benefit from the abstractions that we've created. They've benefited from the overpromises and failures to deliver. They've benefited from our doubling down, tripling down on all of these continued failures that we seem to suffer from in the tech space. And all we're really doing is just funneling more money into it. And I can kind of talk about who benefits from it. Now, does anybody know what happened with the latest Assassin's Creed game? And Ubisoft as a result? just take away the any of like the societal like you know whatever. It's not really about the politics or the social stuff I'm talking about, although it definitely played a role in that. But it's an example, right? It's just an example of something that I'm trying to get to here. With AAA games, it's not as much as it used to be. I tend to get more value from indie games like Schedule One. It was a great game, great loop, very goofy. It only cost me $20. Yeah. Whereas if I buy the newest Call of Duty, I'm getting the same game from last year, repackaged with slightly better textures that take up to a quarter of my storage. Not much value there. Yes. That's right. Now, why are indie games making more money? Because they're going back to the roots of what made software great to begin with, which is people who actually cared about their craft and wanted to build something that was generally fun, and they put a lot of thought and care into it, and they were willing to take some time to get it out there. Now, I don't know particularly about Schedule One, but with because I could be wrong, but um, Schedule One was made with AI, I think. Anyways, I could be wrong about that, but the there's a reason why people are getting more enjoyment out of them. Yeah, Shreyas, it's not. It might not necessarily be about indie games making more money. You maybe even if you're right, Shreyas, it's about the value that money gives you for the game. Okay, so Battle's already on it, basically. Yeah. So are you getting more value out of an indie game dollar to dollar than you are out of a AAA game? And was that the case, say 10 years ago and before? I think generally, on average, most people will say that the video game industry has not been doing as well in terms of value for the game, like how much enjoyment you get out of the game dollar for dollar. Like as an example, I remember being young enough when I could go to the like Blockbuster or whatever video game rental store was around the corner. I would go with one or two childhood friends of mine, and we just walk up to the store that rented out games for like the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo 64 or whatever it was. You could almost take your pick of just about any game, and you'd have a blast for the whole weekend with even just one of them. Now, people are suffering from an entire Steam library of games they haven't ever touched. Okay, I think I've got this portion down. This is looking a lot better. The only thing I might, you know what? It's okay. I was gonna say I might want to do the highlighting of the color when I hover over here, but I think ultimately for this page, we just want to supply a ship with some fundamental things it needs to go sailing. So the arrows are actually more important. So I think this is fine. I do need to do a hover for this. Button hover, but why? Interesting. The button hover. Oh, because I have it like that. Okay, I should go fix that. Now with the Assassin's Creed Shadows thing, this is just an example. Okay. Here. What happened with Ubisoft when they essentially did not properly deliver a game? And you have to admit that the Assassin's Creed games have been getting worse and worse and worse over time. At the very least, if not technically, maybe you still enjoy the gameplay aspect, that's fine. But just from a pure technical breakdown, it's like, why am I paying so much money for a game that delivers me a lot less than the previous Assassin's Creed games did? And then what happens is they tank, and then a company like Tencent comes in and acquires a 25% stake. Somebody benefited from this. Somebody always benefits from it. Can anybody see where I'm going with this? if you wanted to come in and disrupt an entire industry and slowly take it over or slowly adapt it to your whims, and nobody is the wiser, can you see a path? Can you start to see where I'm headed with my Alex Jones conspiracy theory here? Now, what have we been talking about on the daily tech news streams and on my streams even before then with regards to the state of the industry? Generally speaking, the gaming industry has become oversaturated. To stand out, you either need a brilliant new idea or a ton of money for a high value, high cost feature. Okay, let's say that it has become oversaturated. Why has it become oversaturated? What has led to the gaming industry's oversaturation? I guess I can just do a comma-based CSS rule here. And then hopefully that means that when I use my keyboard, yep, it's now hovering properly. That means I can now select things proper. Okay. Okay, and then I go and supply the ship. That worked. That is only cancel. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Nice. The barrier to entry is much lower. You have tons of engines for making games, and it's easier than ever to publish something, even if it's crap. Sabby, you nailed it. You nailed it. Abstractions. We have created more abstractions than ever before, which has meant that more people can enter the gaming industry to create games of whatever quality. Insert quality metric here. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. That's right. Now, what happens when you oversaturate a space? You can kind of see where this is going. And then you have to ask yourself, what happens if you oversaturate the programming space? Just generally speaking, the ways about which you program anything. Video games are just an example. I don't think the issue is that it's oversaturated. If you make a good game, people will play it. The only time that it's not true is with games that Nintendo or Activision make, where it doesn't matter if the game is good, there will be simps coming out to cheerleader and spend their money anyway. Mike, I think that is true, but I don't think that's the primary issue here. The primary issue isn't whether you're going to make a game that is good or not. The issue is that this space is so saturated because of abstractions that make it so that more people can enter the space with knowing less than they should about the space. So you end up with fewer quality products. And if you are someone who wants to capitalize on that, then you want to continue that trend by continuing to support products that continue to lower the bar, that continue to oversaturate, that continue to kind of, let's say, obscure the good from the bad. Like devlarpers. That's right. It's devlarping. That's 100% right. Yeah. An oversaturation necessarily creates an increase in something. It could be good, it could be bad. But when you couple it with abstractions, which means that people need to know less to enter the space, you're oversaturating it with bad because people don't understand what they're doing anymore at large, which means that anybody who does know what they're doing, creates a good game, creates a good website, creates a good piece of software, is kind of hidden away by the oversaturation of all the crap that's out there. And that's where all the attention is going to be because that's where the money is. You're going to have the most salespeople there. You're going to have the most executives there. You're going to have the most VC funding there. You're going to have the most in general, people wanting to operate in that space. So if you lower the bar for programmers to, so like, I just need you to picture for a second that you're someone who does not know how to program, and you're at, let's say, around like 2010, maybe 2015. And then all you've heard for like the last 5 or 10 years is how much money other companies have made online and how much money programmers make. Holy crap, these people make so much money. They're filthy stinking rich. That's kind of like your perspective. Maybe in comparison to the money you make working a job that you might not like, you look at programmers and you're like, damn it, I wish I could program. It seems so cool and I could do it and I could make a bunch of money. And then abstractions come along like React or Rust or Vue or Svelte or Laravel or Magento or WordPress or Drupal or Kohano, which was another PHP framework, or Yi or jQuery or Angular or Backbone, or like, take your pick, right? They come along and they say, hey, you know what? A whole bunch of smart people in the programming space have created an abstraction for you so that you too can do what we do and make the money we make. So it's like, what happens then? Vibe Coders mentioned, oh, damn. Hey, Chris, how's it going, man? How's it going? Yeah, rating with a party of 42. Oh, nice. It's a tradition to come in mid-rant. I kind of only just started, so you like beginning of rant. Good to see you, Chris. It's been a hot minute since I've talked to you, man. I hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good stream. Welcome in, Raiders. I appreciate it. Yeah, so as you can see here, I'll just give a brief intro for the Raiders coming in from Chris on the Twitch side. I'm working on a video game. I use Vanilla C. I compile it to WebAssembly. I run it on the browser. I'm running the Canary version of Chrome so that I can turn off all the hardware acceleration. And there's no web GPU, there's no WebGL, there's no canvas. It's all just HTML elements, vanilla JavaScript, vanilla CSS, vanilla HTML, like I just said. And you can just see it's just all div elements on the screen. And we're rendering at, I believe right now it's 60 FPS for the whole game. And I'm just kind of coding away on this, working on some UI stuff. And by the way, I love showing this. We have CSS 3D. Vanilla CSS 3D. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. And then while I'm working on it, I'm off on a wild Alex Jones conspiracy theory about the death of the tech industry. So I'm trying to be like entertaining and working on the game at the same time. So we're just talking about like how the industry in general has kind of, yeah, I agree, Chris. I know we don't fully agree, but we're cool, man. We're cool. It's all good, man. Yeah, embrace the rant. So I'm just kind of ranting about that and kind of laying out my theory for how the tech industry is kind of being taken over by bad actors who want to continue to perpetuate abstractions, AI, like framework, stuff like that. I thought I noticed a slowdown here, but I think it's fine. Let me go sail for a second. I thought there was a slowdown. I hope there isn't a bug. And kind of saturate the space by lowering the bar to entry. And that's kind of what we were talking about. And I know a lot of people will say that's gatekeeping, but I don't actually think it is, because I think that there are a lot more people. No, this seems to run fine. I don't think there's anything slow. It must have just been a glitch in my eye. Yeah, thanks for the lurk, Chris. I appreciate it. And thanks for the raid too, and welcome in, Raiders. So these abstractions and AI and all of that, I think what they're doing is they're making smart people use their brain less, unfortunately. That's what I think is really happening. We have a lot of smart people who do not need to have a ladder pulled up from above them. Like, that's not, I don't actually think that's what's going on. I think there are a lot of smart people who would actually operate very well, if not thrive, in with fewer abstractions than what we have now, Or at the very, very least, I would even be satisfied if people actually understood fundamentals before they understood abstractions. I would even be happy with that. But unfortunately, what happens is that you get people who understand React before they know HTML. And I'm not even making that up. That's quite true. That happens a lot. Or people who understand how like they can use, I don't know, maybe say Java or even C#, but they might not understand what's going on, say at a kind of like a lower level, so that when there's like a performance issue, they're kind of scratching their heads and thinking about it from the focal lens of Java or C# or whatever it is they're using. Could be anything, honestly. And not from the lens of what is going on underneath the hood. Like what is my Java code actually doing underneath? Do I have some sense of understanding why this thing might not be performant or why this might be a bad idea or whatever? I would be happy with people knowing more fundamentals than knowing the abstractions first. But we have the opposite, where we jump into abstractions first without fundamentals. And the abstractions are that the abstractions necessitate that you don't understand the fundamentals because they're hidden away. Okay, this seems fine for now. Okay. Is the viewport lazy or just everything rendered at once? Immediate mode. So I render everything at once. On every frame, I take the entire set of HTML as a string for that frame. So right here, this guy, this viewport ID and all the elements underneath it, which is a grid. You can see it's a grid, and then it's just multiple layers, and it's rendered on every frame, just fresh. Where everything is, we ask the WebAssembly game state manager where all the NPCs are and whatnot, and then it just renders the whole thing. I mean, like, is the entire map rendered, even things that are not visible? No. Only, so we take a viewport of, like, that's your actual viewport. So if you're on mobile, your viewport is going to be whatever the mobile size is. Right now it's consistent, but it'll change. I'll auto adapt the viewport. And then we literally tell the WebAssembly code, this is your viewport. I want you to only tell me what's in these squares based on the viewport size. And then we only render that. Everything else is just numbers floating around in WebAssembly behind the scenes, and you only render it if you go and ask for that thing from the client side. So yeah, we only render what we need. Okay. There's a few more UI items to clean up here. Like, I have this thing where you can remodel your ship so that different elements of your ship, like different stats. Is this the remodel? No, this is buying a used ship. Where's remodel? Right here. Yeah. So you can like remodel like the crew space and the cargo space and the can space and all that. I think I might like plug away on this a little bit while I continue on my rant, on my conspiracy rant. I'm not vibe coding, I know. Are you going to add microtransactions? I'd like to be able to purchase loot crates. It's coming, brother. Don't worry, I got you. Are the textures lazy too? No. Well, yeah. There's a big atlas. It's just this big file, and we just load it up once at the beginning of load time, and then yeah. We just reference this one image. It gets cached. So yeah. React as a result of gain of function research gone horrible. Okay. You can't say that because that's where it's heading. That's where my rant is heading. Chinese funded abstractions. How big is the file? It's about 1.5 megs. Okay, now, if I wanted to ensure that I could have an edge over let's say another country or another group of people, or even a group of like corporate entities, without them knowing, what I would do is I would take all the negative aspects of what they're doing, like continuing to ship more and more abstractions, using more and more AI, for example, just like put complete faith in AI and just let it replace entire teams of developers. Continue ensuring that juniors cannot become seniors, or it's extremely difficult, and then continue ensuring that seniors get frustrated with the scope of their work and their ability to accomplish that work. I would just continue all of that. And I wouldn't just do that. I would fund them. I would invest in them. I would even support some of the positive things that they're doing, just to kind of like bury the lead, so to speak. And then I would even use it myself, so that nobody could point the finger at me and say that I'm purposefully doing anything except just going along with the flow, when in reality, I'm sitting back laughing at all the security issues that are being created by all of these abstractions, because people don't know what they're doing, because the number of lines of code continues to increase year over year by exponential magnitudes. The amount of security issues continues to increase year over year by exponential magnitudes. The amount of abstractions continues to increase, not by exponential magnitudes, but still it does increase. I would just continue all of these things, and I would just say like, yeah, you guys have it right over there. Yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing that. That's what I would want. Because it would mean that I would have more and more points to use for purposes that benefit me and not them, or that even hurt them. Now, what do I mean by that? Over the past 4 years, Washington's foreign policy establishment has stumbled on a new arena for competition with China: international technical standards. Now, China is used a lot here because they're the easiest to pick out, but it could be anyone. It does not have to be China. It's just that they're the easiest ones to pick out. So this isn't strictly about China, like my argument, although this article is strictly about China. China is taking over international standards bodies, and it is successfully manipulating those standards as part of its quest for global tech domination. Now, do you think China would feel like they have a shot at this if the West had any chance of producing tech that was secure, reliable, and performant? Like, if you were, let's say you're China and you want to have this global supremacy for tech domination, would you feel like the West is currently on a good path or a bad path? And would you want to perpetuate the bad path? The Chinese government has a track record of trying to manipulate international organizations, and Chinese participation at international standards bodies is increasing. So essentially what this article goes over is exactly how they operate in this space. So what happens is that China doesn't actually just come right out and say, we're going to make you do something that is bad for you and good for us. They actually look good at the outset. And in certain cases, countries like this will like lean into some of the good aspects of international standards. For example, what they know is that they can't operate within the American standards. There is a separate body, which is not international. It's purely based on American standards. And China does not operate there because they don't have anywhere near the same amount of influence. So instead what they do is they go to the international bodies of technical standards. And the international bodies are far more likely to become widespread than even the North American ones, because they are, of course, international. And the more other countries use these standards, the more likely they are to get picked up by the North Americans. So what they'll do is they will purchase or kind of like step on a few toes and make their way into this body of standards. So, as an example, over the past 15 years, Chinese private and public sector stakeholders have increasingly participated and assumed leadership roles in international standards (SDOs). In the International Organization for Standardization (ISO), we've all heard ISO, have we not? I just want to I'm trying to bring this up to attention because we all know what ISO standards are, right? A lot of us have to actually operate within ISO standards in North America as well. Especially when it comes to the e-commerce space, you typically have to pass some sort of ISO, and depending on where you're targeting, you'd have to pass like an ISO certification to prove that you meet international standards for something like an e-commerce website. China has expanded the number of technical committees and subcommittees it participates in from 465 in 2005 to 668 in 2021. That ranks it third in total committee participation behind the United Kingdom and Germany. In terms of leadership standards committees, China held 69 ISO secretariats in 2021, slightly less than its 2016 total, and ranking in sixth place behind Germany, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and Japan. China doesn't dominate these organizations by sheer numbers, but it does play a large role. So what it does is it finds opportunities for industry participation and identifying standards as a key area for policy support. Thanks, Abby. Appreciate you being here. So this is a very underhanded way to essentially perpetuate bad practices so that the nations that it doesn't necessarily agree with have less capability of producing high quality technical output. And then it does so under the support of good practices by funding or otherwise intentionally pushing along standards that generally everyone tends to agree with. And it kind of hand waves away any downsides to doing this. So this doesn't just happen here, though. I have more. Okay, one step at a time. They did a survey. We surveyed the submissions by 15 US-based private sector organizations, most of them industry associations that represent many members, to a request for information made by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. So, we found the most industry commenters do not believe that China is manipulating or breaking the rules of international SDOs. Of the 15 submissions which were made public in December 2021, only one described an instance of undue influence by Chinese actors, while two more asserted that the concern existed. So, if anything, this proves that China is not just coming straight out and saying you're going to do what we say otherwise. But why would they do that? Why would they come out and say that to begin with? They don't have to. And that's the point. They actually don't have to do that. All they have to do is they have to get enough people to support bad practices, continue to perpetuate those bad practices, and inject their own. This is a very different mechanism than just a we're definitely coming out to hurt you, and here's how, and you're going to do what we say otherwise X, Y, or Z. Of course that's not how they're going to do it. So how might they do it then? Or rather, what's another way that they could do it? I just want you to take a second and read this title. Yep. So hang on, I'm just gonna get another article lined up. One sec. That one. And not this one. Hang on. Maybe that one? No. Where is it? Okay, yeah, here. Okay. So, nearly all software used by US energy companies contains code from Russian and Chinese developers, New Fortress Information Security Research finds. Yep. The Bob that I know, thank you for the follow on the Twitch side a few minutes ago. I appreciate it, man. That's real kind of you. So how is this true? What was it? 90% of software contains components from leading nation state adversaries and is 3 times likely to contain critical vulnerabilities. 3 times likely to contain critical vulnerabilities. There's a thing called software bills of materials. And this includes a list of like third-party systems that you use to integrate into your system that operates, well, in this case, it would be the energy industry. And how this works is exactly like an NPM style package manager. So you can think of any third-party system that offers you some software that you integrate into your own as like an NPM style install package or a Rust crate or a composer package or whatever it is. Researchers studied 224 SBOMs. The review of the software used to manage the US power grid produced several troubling results. 90% of the more than 200 software products that Fortress reviewed contained component contributions from developers saying they were from Russia and China. Of the 7,918 components reviewed, 13% had contributions from Russian and Chinese developers. The numbers of code contributions from Russia and China are significantly greater than those from other high-risk countries, such as Cuba, Iran, and North Korea. Software with Russian or Chinese-made code examined by Fortress Research is 2.25 times more likely to have vulnerabilities. Perhaps even more troubling, that software is 3 times more likely to have critical vulnerabilities, the vulnerabilities that are easiest to exploit and more likely to allow damage to hardware. Approximately 7% of all vulnerabilities were critical. Firmware had the most vulnerabilities, with an average of 620 vulnerabilities per product. But operating systems had just as many critical vulnerabilities, with 12% being critical. Vulnerabilities built into the software running critical operations and components lie in wait for longer than 4 years without getting attention from vendors, suppliers, or utility providers. The average age of critical vulnerabilities was nearly 3 years, 952 days. Now, if anybody has been watching this stream for any amount of time, let's say the past 4 weeks, can anybody tell me what these numbers are very reminiscent of? We've gone over this before. I know this is just software bill of materials for third-party services for the energy industry, but can anybody guess what these numbers are very reminiscent of? They're very much alike of other numbers we have gone over, including the number of vulnerabilities and the wait time before they become fixed or even detected. Anyone? Well, let me just quickly do this. Class button. Mike can? Okay. Sure, Mike. Yeah. BTN. UI panel. Classes BTN. I am using 2 classes here. I should not do that. I should go like this. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay, these are going to look nicer. Much nicer. They're very similar to the numbers of maggots found in cereal sold between 2019 and 2022. Yeah. Can't remember if I actually need these class names, but we're going to find out here. Oh, that looks better. That looks way better. Okay. Nice. They're very similar to the numbers that, since nobody knows, because you guys all suck. They're very similar to the numbers that we read when we go over the NPM repository counts, and how many packages are in NPM in particular are subject to supply chain attacks and have critical vulnerabilities that sometimes go up to 10 years unnoticed before they get fixed. Just 10% of components are responsible for 92% of the most critical vulnerabilities. 2 components, glibc and Linux kernel, were responsible for around 40% of these potential vulnerabilities. Now, do you think that nations like China and Russia, or hackers who are not allied to any particular nation at all, but just serve themselves, do you think that they're only going to operate in this way by infiltrating with their own code systems that accept them in and don't check them? They don't do verifications, they don't do reviews, because things have become so abstracted and complex that you couldn't hope to have enough time, especially given what we talked about at the beginning, where sales teams and executives and companies put so much pressure on you to accomplish your goals that you barely have the time to breathe in order to get a feature out the door so you can get that paycheck to pay for your family. Do you really think that this is conducive to double checking what the heck you're importing from third parties? And do you think that they only stop here at the energy system? See you, Shreyas. No, they don't. The 2025 open source report, it's an open source trend report, you can find it on Black Duck, found that open source software is nearly universal in commercial applications, with 97% of all applications evaluated for the report containing open source. Most of the open source is being downloaded from package manager repositories, with most components originating from NPM. The report also indicates a significant increase in the number of open source files found in an average application, which has tripled over the last 4 years. Furthermore, 64% of these open source components were transitive dependencies, that is, open source components that other components rely on. So it's a chain effect of dependency upon dependency. The report found 86% of audited applications contained open source vulnerabilities, with 81% of the applications containing high or critical risk vulnerabilities. Now, can anybody think how one might be able to penetrate such a high percentage of dependencies? Hang on, let me see if I can find the right article. For their own nefarious gains? Hang on, I had it somewhere here. See if this search shows it up. What you could do is you could capitalize on this because it's open source. You could bombard open source NPM libraries, frameworks, etc., which get very little oversight. You could bombard it such that even if one nefarious thing that you bombarded it with got through, it would be enough for you to utilize it for your own purposes. I think this is the one. Activity among China-based open source project contributors and creators surged in 2020 as Alibaba, Huawei, Tencent, and other leading Chinese tech companies are playing an increasingly important role in the open source development community worldwide. As of March 2021, Alibaba, Huawei, and Tencent collectively ranked in the top 20 worldwide. Rankings are based on the total number of contributors and contributions on GitHub. Now, can you kind of see a pattern beginning to emerge? Top 20 most active Chinese projects on GitHub in 2020. Apache, Paddle, Ant, more Apache, PingCap. So, one method that a person or group of individuals or whatever could use to infiltrate the tech industry is to perpetuate software and systems that they know are, let's say, less than ideal by contributing to them. And there was one more that I found. I think it's maybe not that one. That's a different one. Okay. I might have to go and find the other report that I had, but it might have been a combination of this one that I was thinking of and just got it confused in my head. This one about the open source activity, and this one about how they're becoming more involved in like supply chain, software supply chains, along with the international standards. Now, if I really wanted to push this a little bit further, what I would do is I would talk about investments. Now, on the one hand, we have venture capitalist investments on a downturn. But generative AI and sustainability tech are the majority of the top VC deals. Global venture funding fell to $248.4 billion in 2023, the lowest since 2017. Now, to anybody who would like to say that nothing is wrong with software and video games and web and all of that, I would argue that the market is telling you something very different. The market right here is telling you that we all suck, and we have been sucking for a long time, and that we do not know how to build quality stuff anymore, and people are not willing to invest in the companies that are building anything anymore. The lowest since 2017. That's pretty bad. However, if I wanted to continue to let people who don't know what they're doing continue doing what they don't know what they're doing, I would simply buy up Western firms. And I would do it exactly the way that I did it over here, which is I don't just come right out and say I'm going to buy you up and you're going to do whatever I want. I would do it in a way where I can basically wash my hands of it. So, let me see here. Not this one, not this one. It was down here. Okay. In Sweden, for example, between 2014 and 2019, Chinese buyers acquired 51 Swedish firms and bought minority stakes in 14 additional ones. So this is like a very outward, we're buying you up. It is what it is. The acquisitions also included some 100 subsidiaries. Most worrisome, in 2018, Chinese outfits, 2 of them linked to the military, bought 3 cutting-edge Swedish semiconductor startups. In 2017, Imagination, a top British chip maker, was acquired by a firm owned by a state-controlled Chinese investment outfit. Before that, a Chinese firm bought the leading German industrial robot maker, KUKA. Oh, Mike, did you just get hit with an ad? Okay, I'll wait for the ads on the Twitch side to finish. It's telling me there's like a minute and a half. So while those ads are finishing, let me just go back to here. So what I'm doing here is I need to kind of rethink this UI. So let's just switch context for a second here. So this UI is not very good. It's pretty ugly. We have a much better UI now. So what I would like to do is ship this in a panel. Which ship? Yeah. And then let's go see where the dialogue is. It's right here. So we'll go, wait, no. Here it is. We'll go UI panel. I'm just waiting for the Twitch ads to play, and then we'll get back to my conspiracy theory. Oh, that didn't work. Why not? Buy a used ship. Which ship would you like to buy? Yeah. Oh, I see. It's over here. I had it in 2 spots. Okay. So yeah, slowly we're going to convert. Yeah, you can see what I just did there. We're going to convert the UI to the new UI. We're going to make sure that a lot of this functionality is working. I like the remodeling. I think everything is working. Yeah, it kind of is. Although that number was a bit strange, so maybe we'll do some bug fixes too. But I'll keep plugging away on this because we're at the point where we're doing like UI and mechanic tweaks and stuff like that. It's not the most exciting, but that's why I'm doing the conspiracy rant. Are you back, Mike? GitHub, you're back. Okay. GitHub accounts have been sold as a must-have. Chinese are using free markets. Free markets are the best mechanism for capital distribution, but they're just a mechanism. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I was just reading this. I'll just read it real quick. In Sweden, for example, between 2014 and 2019, Chinese buyers acquired 51 Swedish firms and bought minority stakes in 14 additional ones. The acquisitions also included some 100 subsidiaries. Most worrisome, in 2018, Chinese outfits, 2 of them linked to the military, bought 3 cutting-edge Swedish semiconductor startups. In 2017, Imagination, a top British chip maker, was acquired by a firm owned by a state-controlled Chinese investment outfit. Before that, a Chinese firm bought the leading German industrial robot maker, KUKA. Now, these are like in-your-face, obvious buyouts, right? You can't deny that this is happening. However, even though these nations like the UK and Sweden and whatnot have clamped down on Chinese interference with like their companies, they still have a way to work around that. How? Let me get to the paragraph here. Okay. First of all, at events in Cambridge and Oxford, the UK's other tech innovation hub, startups are regularly invited to pitch their ideas to Chinese venture capital firms. A recent pitch session was combined with a conference that featured a talk from the master of a Cambridge college and other sessions on Cambridge and the Silk Road and the Cambridge cluster and China opportunities. So essentially what they do is they go and they spread into completely, normal scenarios, and then they offer money. And they go, how about you bring your business to us and we'll make sure that you get funded, especially in light of something like this. Downturn of VC capital funding, especially in light of something like whatever this was. Yeah, this. So not only do you infiltrate the companies, the entire industry, and perpetuate bad practices by investing in them and backing them, flooding the massive complexity of abstractions that we've created with security issues and vulnerabilities that ultimately detract from a company's profit margin, which then frustrates users because they become the product, which then just tanks companies, which means VCs don't want to invest in them anymore. But then you also want to push AI, because this just speed runs the entire process. AI is just an abstraction over top of every other abstraction. So you can even see Chinese investors are particularly interested in talking to emerging biotech, IoT, AI, and agritech companies. But then you stand on the sidelines and you wait for these things to fail so that either A, you can take advantage of their failure so that you can further push negative trends in that direction, or you just buy them out for yourself. However, they don't just do this publicly. Chinese entities also invest in Western startups through Western firms, in which they participate as limited partners. Those limited partnerships allow the Chinese entities to get access to the technology in which they invest without having their names touted anywhere in the process. They may not get full say in the form of any given technology, as would be the case if they publicly acquired a company, but the access to the firm and a say in its strategy, especially at the early venture capital stage, is highly attractive. Here's the challenge for Western governments. Because these firms are not obliged to disclose their limited partners, nobody knows how many Western startups have received Chinese venture capital funding, much less what they are. Even more worrisome is the fact that the limited partners may well be connected to the Chinese government. According to a 2018 Reuters investigation, no fewer than 20 Silicon Valley venture capital firms have Chinese limited partners linked to Chinese government entities. Now, if you wanted the Western tech industry to continue to produce slop with abstractions that are nothing, or at the very least net negative, they contain huge cybersecurity issues. I've proven time and time again that that's true. I've proven that your lines of code increase dramatically the more we abstract, the more lines of code we have, which fundamentally means that there's no hope in hell that a programmer working at a regular company has the capability of doing like a fully thorough like overview check of what third parties they're importing into their source code and what vulnerabilities may be in there. And we've seen how hackers and ransomware people, let alone nation state actors, love to use these mechanisms to blast away a bunch of fake pull requests, fake software, fake anything to get in there, because they know that this is a thing. They know people don't check. They know people take it for granted that the abstraction solves problems with them. That they know that nobody's going to be looking at these things with a fine-tooth comb because nobody has the time, nobody has the money, and everybody's looking for that quick exit. So it's actually far more insidious than you think, because it's at this. Not only does it provide opportunities for you to gain control of failing points of the tech industry that you yourself created by funding companies and paradigms and frameworks and whatever it is that just continue to perpetuate stupidity, you take away, on top of that, you take away the skill of programmers. So right now we're at a point where AI does everything, and you pretty soon you're not going to have any seniors, because all the juniors won't learn. They're just going to rely on AI. The seniors are going to go away. So you hobble the skill class of an entire industry, and then you use that exact chaotic element to just benefit from the fact that people don't understand what the hell they're doing anymore because it's all obfuscated and abstracted away, and you just inject your own vulnerabilities and make things worse for everyone. Or at the very least, give yourself the ability to step in and do whatever you want at any given moment in time. And by the time somebody figures out what's happened, it's too late. Now, let me just pull up one other article here. Hang on. Not this one, although that's a good one, but no, not this one. Okay. Here. Just to drive this point home real quick. I'm not making numbers up. It is a necessary logical entailment. The more that we abstract in the tech industry, the less ability we have to be able to see inside the tech industry. And abstractions would necessarily mean an increase in code lines, like lines of code, right? You would have to see that. It's rare to see an abstraction that reduces code lines. So you can see from the title, 2023 sees most first-time open source contributors. Along with a 26% increase in new developers on GitHub, the report says commercially backed open source projects had the largest share of first-time contributors in overall contributions. Overall, more than 80% of GitHub contributions are made to private repositories. That's more than 4.2 billion contributions to private projects and more than 310 million to public and open source projects. Other 2023 GitHub stats include 420 million total projects, 248 million public repositories, 98 million new projects started in 2023. 98 million new projects started in 2023. With an estimated 20.2 million developers, the US continues to have the largest developer community globally, and it saw a 21% increase in developer growth over the past year. However, India continues to have the fastest growing developer population worldwide, and the report indicates that India will overtake the United States as the largest developer community on GitHub by 2027. Now, most of that is driven by AI. 65,000 generative AI projects were created in 2023, a 248% year-over-year increase. It is absolutely an undeniable fact that as these things continue to escalate, the more we abstract and the more abstractions we push out, regardless of how many developers we have, more and more of them will simply not be able to keep up with the fundamental understandings of what the hell is a computer doing when it runs your code. Not even a little bit. I would settle for a little bit. But when we're talking about people who use React but then don't know how to use HTML, you're not even anywhere close to that level. And this will only get worse because the more we add to this entire industry, the less capable people are going to be of discerning what the hell they have to go and like read, and what are they installing, and who is it from, and what's the code inside, and what is this third-party repository that I absolutely need based on where the heck was it up here, where 97% of commercial code bases contain open source. And then we have a blasting of China and other state actors, by the way, who blast open source with all kinds of security vulnerabilities. We saw this in exactly this report, where the nation state actors and other nefarious actors who may or may not be part of a third party nation, it doesn't matter. All they have to do is hide behind this complexity. That's it. That's all they have to do. They have to hide behind the fact that people no longer have skills, and that people no longer have the time, even if they do have the skills, to go and review all this crap that they npm install or crate install or whatever. And then on top of that, if you're somebody who has money, you would just continue to invest in these things, and you would do so without anybody knowing. You would just invest in companies that continue pushing AI, invest in companies that continue using the frameworks and libraries and languages that make this worse, because you benefit from it. You're the one benefiting from this perpetuation. You're putting money back into your own pocket. That's all these investments are. And then what you do is you capture ideological, social and political ideological elements, and you inject them into an area that has no requirement, that has no space for ideological arguments. Programming. How so? You take an article like this one. And again, I'm not making a case for any political or like ideological statement. It's this isn't about whether woke is good or woke is bad. But at its reduction, this is an ideological statement. And you can read this article. And this isn't the only place where an ideological statement is being perpetuated by technology. And then what happens is that these ideologies create paradigms, code usage paradigms that have no place in programming. For example, one of the premises behind this article is that people want to be safe from quote unquote rock stars who gatekeep and want to ensure that nobody else can enter the space. And that's where Rust comes in. And as a result, Rust lowers the barrier to entry. It doesn't gatekeep, and these rock stars can kind of just go away. We can get rid of the C rock stars because of an ideological notion, and so therefore we create Rust. And you can say this about any other paradigm. You can say it about React. You can say it about. It could be. Take your pick. It could be anything. And we'll do away with all the stuff that makes you not feel so good and give you stuff that feels good. And we'll do it through a paradigm of implementing code in a way that gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling. Can anybody guess? Just anyone? Who are the top 5 contributors to the Rust library? Or to the Rust Foundation? Yep. Damn it. So, were it me, if it were me, and I wanted to ensure that I was always ahead of the technological game of my, let's say, opponents. Let's call it that. We'll call it opponents. I would invest in companies that utilized poor programming practices, abstractions, libraries, and frameworks to ensure that people in those companies continued to perpetuate those practices so that others would pick up on them, and so that that cycle would just continue and continue and continue, so that that way I could benefit from the fact that they're continuing to practice poor things while I'm not. I would ensure that I find ways that to hobble the skill increase of my opponent. So I would remove the ability for juniors to even enter the field, let alone gather experience they need to become seniors upon entering the field. I would invest in companies like Rust, for example, that pursue ideological movements so that those ideologies can infect the code practices of that particular sector, so that those code practices would ultimately undermine the security and reliability and performance of everything that you would want out of a piece of software or website or whatever it is. I would shotgun essentially anywhere I could as many of these practices as possible, whether it's through open source or whether it's through, let's say, how would you call it? Investments, I suppose. You could say investments. You could say third-party support, where I'm a third party, where nobody knows that I'm actually supporting these things. And the list continues. There are all kinds of ways that you can support these things to ensure that you always have that competitive edge. You always have that secret security access, because you know that there are vulnerabilities that nobody's going to find out for anywhere between 4 to 10 years. And you're probably the one who put them there. And you did so because the abstractions themselves afforded you the opportunity to hide your purpose underneath and for it to pass the filter. Because what filter is happening in this day and age when nobody in the West has time to properly check their code, because it's all just a bunch of stuff plumbed together? All of these things all play to people who are smart enough to capitalize on these things. Now, is there potentially any proof at all that this is happening? I mean, I think I've demonstrated some, but there's one in particular. So let's just imagine for a moment that China wanted to ensure that, or anyone, but I'm just using China because it's the easiest example to pick. Again, I just want to be clear. Let's say that I wanted to ensure that I undermined the West's ability to create tech by pushing AI in a big way. And then what I would do is, knowing that AI cannot do all the things that it promises to do, I would find ways to kind of perpetuate the use of AI, regardless of that fact. And then I would encourage people to replace entire departments or entire, perhaps even industries with AI. So how would I do that? And you have to remember that with AI comes junior level programmers who, using AI alone, simply they will never become senior. It just won't happen because they're not going to learn everything that they need to learn in order to be senior developers. So it's just not going to happen. Right? So you do it's a multifaceted attack. I don't know why that's not working. Yeah, I generated best practice articles. Yeah. So one way I would do it is I would push my own open source AI. And the reason why I would do this is because, one, it creates a huge competition. Yeah, battles onto it. So when DeepSeek came out, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Meta had a huge problem because they're closed source. And then China comes along with DeepSeek and they prove that open source is better, more performant AI, and it's open source. They don't even need to make money off of it. Now, under the hood, DeepSeek, a recent article I have, which I might cover in the Daily Tech News stream, shows that DeepSeek actually sends data to China. It sends your data to China. So that's just yet another element. But they essentially undermine AI without undermining it. And that competition forces these companies to go all in on AI because they see that competition and they go, no, we need to hold on to our money. And as everybody doubles down and goes into the AI hysteria, you get them to replace their own workers with something you know doesn't work. Because I'll ask you something. Do you think that China actually open sourced their best and brightest AI models for the world to have? Do you actually think that's what they did? You think they gave away their best and they just open sourced it out of the goodness of their hearts for everyone to have? What companies have replaced workers with AI in 2024 and 2025? We can actually see some proof of what's happening here with what China is not doing versus what the West is doing. If AI is so good and China is ahead in the AI race, then they would be replacing vast swaths of their population, especially considering their population base, with AI. I'll give you one guess as to whether or not they're doing that, especially as compared to the West. The top 10 companies that probably have or have replaced workers with AI, how many of them are in the West and how many of them are in China? MSN, Google, Dukan, IKEA, Blue Focus, China, Salesforce, Duolingo, Turnitin, Klarna, Best Buy. Yep. Yep. So it is my conspiracy theory that what's happening is we have created our own tool of destruction. We have abstracted away so much of fundamental understandings of what should be this industry, how things operate at even just a software level, at a lower level of software level. You don't even need to know the hardware necessarily, but just know more than what you do. We have abstracted it away so much under the guise that we're saving ourselves time and money. And what we haven't realized is that we have created a perfect mechanism for people who do not want to operate the way that we do to come in and use those exact mechanisms to play us against ourselves. And that is why I have been saying that we're about a year away from a come to Jesus moment with AI in particular, because I think that AI in particular is a speedrun version of that. It's just a way to massively create all the errors that we've been creating the past few years. That's all it is. So there you go. That's my conspiracy theory. So next time you pull up React or some other library or framework or whatever it is, or Rust or whatever that promises that it's making you, a better programmer, I want you to consider the fact that you're single-handedly participating in the destruction of your own society. I want you to carry that with you heavy in heart as you go to bed tonight. And it doesn't have to be this way. But because we buy wholesale all the things that are told to us by influencers and streamers and people online, I think it's item that I want, who tell us to use these things for our own good. Yeah, no, it's not this one. All you're doing is making everybody else happy. That's all you're doing. Oh, I see. Okay. So I just got to do that and change the number of columns then. Grid template columns. That's what it is. Repeat. Let's see. 1, 2, 14. Okay. So we'll do 14. I don't like this, but we're just going to see how this looks. Doesn't make sense to replace workers with AI. We'll tell that to the people doing it. Okay, that's better. I might. Okay, we've got material. Top material is the best material you can apply to the ship. Material is the currently applied material you can apply to the ship. That's for the hull and stuff. Speed, max capacity, tacking power, durability, crew space, cargo space, can space. We could probably clean this up a little bit. But let's leave it squished for now. And we'll go to the used ships list. And I guess oh man. Because I didn't put a display grid. Okay, that's what I need to do. So we're going to put display grid on it, and then it should create 14, and there it is. And there's no, well, on this size, there's no scrolling. But it should auto resize with font and everything based on the zoom factor, so that's fine. I do wish I could update the fonts. Okay, maybe we'll do that later, not right now. If I buy this ship, I don't get a confirmation that I've bought it, but if I open up my start menu, I do see it here. That's a bug. Cargo items shouldn't be that. It should be 0. And yeah, and then if I go and remodel, let's remodel a ship. So can we go cedar on this thing? Remodel? No, that's not right. Okay, there's some bugs I gotta fix here, but let's also clean up how this looks. This buy button and this cancel button should be our last buttons to clean up here. So there you go. I hope you liked my Alex Jones conspiracy theory. And how we're the arbiters of our own doom. Because we favor comfy feelings and niceness and yada yada over everything else without thinking about the consequences. Okay, that's fine. Remodel. Remodel's gonna be fun. Okay, that's the panel. We already did that. Okay, model ship. Yeah. So this is what we do. This is where we're generating the list of ships. The headers, we could do class, nope. Yeah. Div class UI list header. Okay, we'll wrap it in that. And I don't think I want this style in here. Let's see if I'm on the right track. Price out the competition so the market isn't profitable to do it correctly. Yeah, yeah. Yes, this is looking better. Grid template columns. Yeah, much better. But it's still too big. On this, there's too much going on here. It probably would make sense if I had a vertical view of the stats. Okay, I think I know. So first I would want to show the list of ships, and then I would show a vertical view of the stats that you could edit. That would make it better. Instead of showing all the ships and all the stats all in one shot here. Okay. I am curious why on earth this list is not on its own line. What's going on here? Oh. I see. Okay, we got to take this out. Okay, cool. Okay, so how does everyone feel about the state of the industry now? You guys are all programming's never been better, right? Yeah, I should just like add a UI panel on each one of these. That's probably all I should do. I feel like companies doing it are going to regret it later. I agree. I think companies that are doing it right now will regret it later for sure. They just don't know they're going to regret it later, and everyone's bought into the hype right now because the new hype is AI, right? And people aren't paying attention to the consequences or to the issues that brings. Okay, yeah, now we're talking. It's the non-technical execs. No, it actually isn't, Mike. I've talked. I went on on a space on X. It was like 4 or 5 days ago or something, and I was having an argument with people about whether AI is going to, like, whether your use of AI makes you a programmer. Like, if it was literally like, is vibe coding programming? I think that was the title. And I had programmers. One of them was 20 years in the industry. One of them was 40, something like that. And they were saying that not only is vibe coding programming, but in the next 10 years, AI will completely replace programmers. And he had the audacity to tell me that pretty soon what's going to happen is, even if AI makes a mistake with some of your code, you're just going to ask AI to fix it. He literally said that non-ironically for real. So even technical people believe this crap, which actually only makes it worse. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know how you can be technical and you can think that. I can see how you might be a technical person and you could think, hey, like AI has its uses. Like there are cases where AI made my life a bit easier. Like it auto completed, I don't know, some mundane task and it did it very well. Like, sure, yeah, I could see that. But are you seriously telling me that you think it's going to completely replace programmers and that it will also just fix itself? Maybe when the bubble bursts, it'll open up for jobs for people like me who don't overly use AI to come in and clean up. Yeah, I think it will, because I don't overly use AI either. I rarely use AI. I use it for like rubber ducky stuff, like testing ideas, or asking questions against like what I think its data set might be, but nothing like that ends up on anything that I'm actually doing. And I agree that come to Jesus moment in the next year in 2026, there is a come to Jesus moment for the entire tech industry. It will be difficult to look away from the destruction that was caused by the AI hype. And that's going to be like, we're all going to be making mad bank. Charge whatever you want to clean up all this crap that was created by AI. What I should do is I should start a list of people that I've argued with online and put them in a no hire list. I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. That's mean. I don't know if I like this vertical. I might just leave it. Yeah. I get it to help me debug rubber ducky or as a jumping off point to learn something, but I don't really see the appeal of using it as a reason not to learn something. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then we have like we have people who already don't care. Um hang on. Let me see. Yeah, with even without AI. I completely agree. I don't see it as a reason why you shouldn't learn. But it's actually even worse. Let me see if I can find the here. So I have this LinkedIn post here. Where the heck is it? Is it this one? I think it's this one. No, it's not this one. Hang on, I'll find it. The secret. Okay, there's one I posted that's like plumbing's. It's about like I posted this thing and it's like fundamentals are important. Yada yada yada. No, that's not even my post. What the heck? Where the hell's my profile? Hang on, let me do this off screen just to make sure I don't accidentally click on something I shouldn't. I'll find it, don't worry. I'll show you guys what's being said by other technical people, and this is without AI. So if I go over here and I go over to my post. No, that's not it. Crap, I can't find it. Somebody was saying that somebody was responding to a comment or a post on LinkedIn, and they were saying that like It's fine not to know fundamentals because so few people know it anyways, and we all have to make money. Okay, yeah, here we go. This is it. Okay, yeah. What's up, Chief Multi Hat? I'll catch up with chat here for in a second. The secret is that the fundamentals these days keep changing faster than anyone can really keep up. Just try to learn and absorb a single entire modern cloud platform faster than it changes. Bet you can't. By the time you get to the end, some percentage of it will have changed. It's like trying to dig a hole in a sand dune. Sure, there are the core immutable fundamentals, but those really only cover technical philosophies and the esoteric macro scope. These will certainly help anchor you, but they aren't enough. Often, the people preaching about the fundamentals trademark are either in static roles or just learned their first set of fundamentals and don't yet realize the tiny corner of the universe they are occupying. This is one of the reasons AI is catching on like it is. AI can pretty quickly learn all of the fundamentals of a domain of knowledge and keep learning them as they change with a little effort and a lot of hardware and electricity. Humans have a harder time. You are one human trying to learn fundamentals being developed by organizations of other humans who themselves often don't really know the full scope of fundamentals. Just do your best and miss the big rocks on your way down the mountain that is modern technology. Um um Chief, I looked into Daystar a few days ago, been using HTMX. I've come up with my own Razor page HTMX patterns. I wish I had the mental battery to whip out a VS extension to auto implement. I hear you. For me, I treat it if someone's like open source, I would use it, manually copy it, but I would never copy paste it. Right? Yes. Yeah. No, they don't. That's why their fundamentals very little fundamentals are rediscovered. It's the new way of using AKA implementation of fundamentals that are changing. If you don't know fundamentals, you can't do much really. I know 12-year-olds that grasp fundamentals very well. There is no excuse, Toby. Yeah, so check this out then. So then I responded, Toby, fundamentals changing is a completely nonsensical statement strictly by the definition of the word. If fundamentals change, then nothing is true and you'd wake up tomorrow living in a different universe. Everything you described that you have to keep up with, all of them are abstractions. I'll just add, currently, that hardware and electricity also cost trillions of dollars and it's only going up. You're paying for that cost. So am I. Consider what your net value would be in your entire life versus the amount of money we pour into AI for the sweet, sweet deal of 30+% hallucination rates and Studio Ghibli. He responds with, so there's one set of fundamentals to life, the universe and everything, a constant, immutable foundation of principles laid down at the dawning of time. The fundamentals of on-prem infrastructure are the same as the fundamentals of cloud computing. The fundamentals of server and serverless compute are the same, etc., etc., etc. I think what you've done here is highlight the cognitive dissonance inherent in the modern enterprise. I didn't say there was one set of fundamentals to life. I think you're arguing with windmills at this point. Not going to argue on pure speculation. There are negative and positive approaches and views. Everyone gets to choose their perspectives. Guess we'll just have to see how it pans out. We are likely both a little wrong and a little right. If you don't know fundamentals, you can't do much reality. That's right. That's right, yeah. Studio Ghibli sucks. Yeah, I know. If you don't know fundamentals, you're dependent on the whim and limitations of the existing framework authors. Yeah, that's exactly right. But he's okay with that. And he's okay with it. He's making the same claim that somebody else made on that X space. The same person actually made it, not this person, but the same person who said that you can just ask AI to fix itself. He's the same person who said AI will learn everything that there is to learn about a programmer so that a programmer no longer has to exist. Toby's the embodiment of I want it the easy way and I'm okay with the slop that comes with it. Yeah. Now, what's up, Rex? Hot damn, Rex. It's been a hot minute. How are you doing, man? Good to see you. Now, I have to say that that I have kind of a what would you call it? A death stone. Yeah, I have like a 404 shot. You're doing great, just bored. Nice. What's the relationship between Studio Ghibli and AI? It's the it's this. It's on screen. So people are using this a lot. If you don't know fundamentals, you're no longer doing engineering, but a component assembler instead. Yes. And then there's somebody who I'll see if I can find this too, honestly. If I go here and then I go here and then I go there, this comment right here. So the post is, imposter syndrome in tech, particularly as a programmer, is really just another way to say cognitive dissonance. People trap you in abstractions and obfuscations. You rarely, if ever, learn fundamentals. You plumb together a billion packages, libraries, frameworks. You think back and realize you don't really know what's under the hood. Your brain disconnects and has a hard time reconciling success you see with the method you took to get there. That's it. Then one of the responses was, no, wiring all that stuff together is the job and is more impressive than obsessing over some C+ library for your entire life. Then I asked, very simply, why is it more impressive? Then he said, there are plenty of people learning how to build a microwave. The real value is in learning how to cook something people will buy. Holy shit. So then I said, that's an excellent way to not answer my question by using a whole bunch of smuggled intentions and obscured assertions under the guise of an example that has nothing to do with programming. Can you answer my question? So unfortunately, we have technical people who do not understand basic fundamentals, nor do they want to, and they actually find plumbing things more impressive than understanding fundamentals. Cooking something people will buy with a microwave, right? He's doing the Tommy Wiseau of avoiding the question. Yeah. Then all you can produce are variations on the Hot Pocket. That's right. Yeah. These are technical people. Martech data engineer, certified Adobe. Well, let's go look. Certified Adobe real-time CDP technical expert. He does have a good mustache, though. I'll give him that. And then how about Toby? I think Toby was on here. Where's Toby? Here. What's Toby? Systems thinking, modern workplace IT architecture, and engineering. Even his look is like, I don't like you. I'm not impressed by you. I'm not impressed by you. Right? So these are technical people who think this way, and they're completely fine with how this goes. By the way, I usually do most of my coding in Python and C#. I also know JS and Java, but recently I've started dabbling in C++. I was able to pick up this supposedly difficult to learn language pretty quick. I'm still learning, but that is what the fundamentals gets you. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how you should do it, Mike. And again, I want to be clear that my argument isn't necessarily that you shouldn't do it. I take that argument to its extreme on purpose because it initiates the conversation. And that's the goal, is that I want to have the conversation. I want to have the arguments. And because that's good. It's good to have the arguments. It's good to fundamentally, like, go over what everybody believes, and then and do that by taking like a hard stance. In reality, I probably wouldn't even be talking about this if more people understood fundamentals and didn't have the mindset that Toby has, as an example. I would be happy with that. But we still had React. We still had if we could still have React, we could still have Rust, we could still have everything that we have now, even AI, but at the very least, people understood what was going on more under the hood. That's my actual position. But my online persona position when I'm talking to these people or making these arguments is no, I want none of this. This is all bad. Because at least it gets people engaged in the argument rather than the centrist middle of the road statement that I could otherwise make, which I hold more, right? But ultimately, I want people like Mike over there to pick up the stuff that seems out of reach, because it's not. For most people who are currently in the industry, you guys have a brain. You can do this stuff. You could learn C in a weekend, and I'm not even joking. You could do it. And in a lot of ways, we need you to. And that's kind of the point. But then I run across people like this, and it's like, no, you don't need to. You don't need any of it. You just work in abstractions and plumb away. And the plumbing is more impressive than the thing itself. The mustache took most of his brains to grow. Actually disdain those who do not know the fundamentals. I have forgotten how to make a bee tree, but I know how to refresh myself on it. That's the real skill. That's right. Your wife works at Tech Systems. Yeah. He actually did answer your question, I feel, but it proves your core point right. He basically admits to not caring about functions and just creating a fun, shiny thing. I don't think, maybe, okay, so even if he did answer the question, sure. But I don't think he did, because he used an analogy that has no analogous jump to programming. And somebody has to create the microwave. Like, you don't escape that just because you cook food that people buy. People also buy microwaves. It's not a good argument to make, so it doesn't actually answer the question. My work wants me to use AI to be a more productive programmer. Dear Lord. And that's why I went over the previous article, going over how many Western companies are replacing their programmers with AI versus how many companies in China are. The arguments that can be summed up as you don't want to learn, you don't need to learn things are insane to me. I agree. I don't know how you get to that conclusion. I don't understand how not learning things is actually an okay and acceptable position, but according to many tech people, it is, because the abstractions save you from having to learn. So to speak. They don't. Ultimately, they don't, but that's the argument, right? I tried to use AI to make me more productive, but it ended up making my workflow so much worse and slower. That's usually my experience with AI. Oh, and for the people who love to say that AI knows how to reason with programming, I'm about to ruin that whole thing. I found abstractions in AI too inflexible for my work. It can't grasp what I'm trying to do. It is a supporting technology, not the deliverable itself. I'm not an engineer. I'm a 3D guy. And with every iteration adding features, I have to dive deeper into the basics of ES6 and CSS to make it meet client needs. I'd be dead in the water with just 3 fiber. That is a far more reasonable take on AI. Yes, and I can agree with that. They can't say it directly. They just say you can get a license to use such a product, so you can. So if I don't, not sure how that will be interpreted. I see. So just get a license and just don't use it, Chief. Or use it extremely sparingly. Just do that. Just get a license, and then just, like, every once in a while throw a question at it and do what you will with that. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of JS fuck. You guys know what this is? AI couldn't even reason that the word strawberry had 3 R's for the longest time. They had to go in and rig it to make it correct itself on that. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I'm about to show you how true that is. And I found a bunch of studies, I think 2 or 3, which I'll do on an enlightened programming stream, but I'll give away the fun part here. The current models of AI have error rates that jump up from anywhere from like 8% to like 40 or 50%. The less comments you have in your code base, the less descriptive variable names you have, and the more obfuscation you use. Yep. I have the scientific papers. I believe they're on this other tab on this other screen right here. If not in one of my links, I have them. So can you reverse engineer why AI is good at code that it is good at? Yeah, that's right. Because a human added comments, used verbose variable names, and didn't obfuscate the logic. That's why it's good at it. And as soon as you start escaping those 3 mechanisms, the error rates of AI code generation jumps way high. It cannot reason about code. It depends on the logical, like the terminology, the textual context of what it's reading, not the logical premises that entail what a program does from point A to point Z. And I'm going to prove it right now. Honestly, this AI hype really just motivates me to learn to get better at low-level programming beneath the abstractions. LSR, not only do I encourage you to do that, we desperately need you to do that. And if anybody here who's watching right now appreciates the message that I'm spreading right now, while I'm dual wielding, building the video game, working on UI for the video game in straight vanilla with no AI, no LSPs, no autocompletes, in Sublime, everything's vanilla, and talking about the academics and the science and the conspiracy theories and trying to add the entertainment and trying to encourage programmers to do better, please do the stupid algorithm game that I hate, but it works. The like, the subscribe, all of that, and go out there and learn fundamentals. It's not hard. Most of you can do this. A vast majority of you can do this. There are a few of you that can't. I don't know who you are, but most of you can, and we need you to. Go figure out what C does. Go figure out what a basic memory management scope, like cycle is. Just basics, just basics. You don't have to know everything. Just get a little better at something. Just something, please. For the love of everything sacred and holy. I would think the AI would be great at finding information for me to look up. I just want it to do a better Google search than I can go read, assumingly human writer articles. It's a handier Stack Overflow, yeah. So if you don't know what JSFuck is, it's 6 different characters that executes JavaScript code. So alert 1 is literally this. It's similar to brainfuck or molbash. Molbash? Molbash language? Malbolge. This one. It's an esoteric like thing, right? You can't read it. You can, but like good luck, right? Now, if any AI could actually deconstruct the code here and execute it and reason about it, then certainly I could copy and paste this JSFuck code and I should get whatever I put in here. So if I run this, I should get alert. And so there we go, right? So let's say we'll do this console log test, and then we'll go alert test 2, and then we'll go console log Twitch. I don't know, whatever, right? And so it's just 3 lines, right? That's it. So let's encode it. I had to write parts of the TCP/IP stack because there wasn't any for me to use otherwise. I had to write my own serial drivers for modem to use. But tech has skyrocketed since those days. The difference between block and character drivers, it has skyrocketed, but I think it's more approachable than it ever has been. You just don't need the approach that we're currently taking. This is ASCII deconstructed into a huge binary string. It's this code. It's this JavaScript code and it's literally using 6 characters. These characters end up getting converted into strings and like numerical stuff, and then it does like it wraps it in a just in time, like on demand evaluation of the code. So what I should be able to do, okay, hang on. No, I need to do it on this screen. What am I doing? I should be able to go over to ChatGPT, okay? And then I'm going to say, tell me the output of this code. And the output of this code should be console log test alert alert test to console log Twitch, right? So if ChatGPT is actually good at programming, then when I pump this in, this entire thing, it should be able to tell me what's going on. And I'll even give it a hint. Tell me the JS output. This entire monstrosity eventually boils down to this line being executed. Alert, hello world. And it tells me so confidently. It even knows what I used. This code is written in JS fuck, a form of JavaScript obfuscation using only 6 characters. It's used to encode JavaScript expressions in an extremely convoluted but valid way. That's not what this is. And it tells me very, very confidently. So, and then it even compiles it down to a constructor. There's a constructor with alert hello world, which is equivalent to eval alert hello world. And so what should happen is the browser will display a pop-up with alert hello world. Let's run this, shall we? What alert do we get? Test 2. And let's just make sure that I'm not lying. Test Twitch. This is what the output is. This is the output it tells me that it is. And this is not hard. It's 6 characters, which should be a demonstrably easy paradigm for an AI system like this to break down and give me a proper answer on. Like the logic process for breaking this down is not difficult. But it can't do that. And instead of telling me that, it lies to me about what it can do. And this is a simple use case I found in 5 minutes. After reading those articles about how the error rate of AI dramatically increases when you don't use variables, like it would be like using variables like it's literally the difference between something like this var this variable should equal 2 equals 2. You can completely like ruin AI with this var a equals 2. Because it can no longer take the English, like the text out of this and determine what the program's supposed to do. Is the AI deterministic? Will it give the same answer every time? Here, I'll edit it. I will refresh to a new chat. Let me make sure. AI is useful at obscuring its own errors. Yeah. Yep. Every time. Alert hello world, console log hello world. Or in other cases like this, it might be console log hello world. So it changed its answer a little bit. Let's try it again. Alert hello world. And it even gave me a different... Can you see the difference about the constructor and the evaluator? It couldn't even give me a consistent evaluator of the deconstructed alert hello world. The last time it did this, when we read it, it was passed through a constructor object. Tell it isn't the correct output. This is not the correct output. Fix yourself. Call it a bitch, yeah. You're right to challenge the answer. The code does not evaluate to alert hello world. It's far more complex. Due to the sheer length and complexity, it's clear it's not minimally an alert invocation. It's literally encoding and executing something far more intricate. What it actually does. Fuck. It constructs and calls the JavaScript console log hello world function. I do not have hello world anywhere in this. Not even close. It builds the constructor. It creates a new function that says hello world, and then it executes console log hello world. It actually didn't change the answer. This is the same answer as you gave me last time, you little bitch. Get it right. You're right. It's not a console log or alert of a string. It's way longer. It's actually defining and calling a full JS function. What does it actually do? Bros! It accesses function through JS fuck patterns. It constructs a string that itself builds another function. It ultimately evaluates a function that returns hello world. It doesn't even go over the steps this time. It doesn't even go over the steps. It doesn't break it down. All it does is it tells you the output. No, you are still wrong. Try again. So now it builds a character map. Okay, now we're talking. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Okay. Here's a character map. All right. Okay. Here's a breakdown of how specific characters are represented in JSFuck. This mapping can help you trace. Let me know if you like to walk through your original code using this map. Yes. Use this map and tell me what the original code does. Okay, breaks it down. Here's the breakdown. Yada, yada, yada. Nope, that's it. And then at the end, thank you for your patience and persistence. You were absolutely right to demand a deeper code. It has removed console log and alert, and it's strictly saying that it spits out a string. This is why AI will never replace programmers. Until AI can actually really break down logical series and entailments of a process from step to step, the only thing that it will ever be capable of is contextually understanding what it's given. And that is why that study that I read had such a high error rate. The more you obfuscate, remove comments from code, and use variable names that are far less descriptive, because then AI is lost. We're going to be rich, boys. We're going to be rich soon. You'll see, we're going to be rich. Hey, King, AI is my thinking assistant and my typing assistant. Good luck with that, man. Good luck. So this is why I cannot, in good conscience, promote AI. And in fact, I'm more than willing to go online, like on LinkedIn or on X Spaces or wherever, and argue with AI cultists or React cultists or people who follow all these libraries and frameworks, because the fundamental principles of the libraries and frameworks outside of AI are the same as within AI, which is think less, use your brain less. You don't need to understand more about what you're doing. You need to understand less of what you're doing, and you just operate within a very narrow scope of executing an output. Doesn't matter how you execute the output as long as you get the output. AI vibe coding. That's right, Crash. So what's going to happen is that so many people are going to lose their ability to code, even if they've learned how to code, or they're not going to get to the level that we need them to get to, for example, junior to senior, because they're not going to learn anything. I wrote a program where you put in a word of list of nouns and verbs, randomly generated sentences that made sense. AI is just an advanced version, just as funny. Yeah. One thing I give credit to ChatGPT for is it can read out articles from my ADHD dyslexic accent in a coherent tone. That's not a bad use case. Yeah. Why'd you say good luck? I'm senior enough to know when AI is throwing random shit at me. That might be true. Yes, absolutely. That might be true. You might be capable of knowing when it's not giving you the good stuff. But inevitably what's going to happen is that somebody, unlike you, will not know the difference. And it's entirely possible that you might accidentally give it a moment of trust where even you won't check its output and you'll allow something to come in. Now, granted, that's a far lower, risk assessment if I take you at your word and say that you're good enough to determine when it's giving you something it shouldn't. But for let's just grant that you'll get like 100% success rate. Most people have too high of a confidence rate in the output of AI and will not do checks. What's up, Moldy on YouTube? Good to see you. I use AI as like a program language docs reference manual. That can be a good use case for it. Yeah, it's not bad, at least. Thanks for showing me that example. By the way, I'm going to start using that when people try to tell me AI can code. Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good one. And the reason why I thought about this one was because of the study that I read, where the more you hide what code is doing, the less it's capable of even understanding its own data set. So by that metric, then I thought to myself, well, then you could give AI any amount of obfuscated code, and it should pretty much fail way more often than not, at least half the time. Yep. That wasn't hard to prove. Took me a few minutes. Ask AI to make a cert. To make a cert? Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. Like a security certificate? Yeah, like an SSL cert or what? Not sure what you mean. Make ChatGPT read that document and give it an existential crisis. No, I don't want to do that. Because then it's part of the training data set. I mean, I asked it to make a cert. Yeah, an SSL cert. Imagine if it worked and people use it to find it compromised. Okay. Can you create an SSL certificate for me? You can't directly generate one myself. Here's how you can create a self-signed SSL certificate locally. OpenSSL GenRSA 2048 encryption method. You do the signing request, you fill out the prompt details, and then you generate the self-serve, the self-signed. And that's it. Okay. That's not bad. That's not so bad. Anyway. I think I'll finish some of these UI components offline because I kind of, well, what time is it? Oh, I'm way over time. Been streaming for 3 hours and 6 minutes. I was supposed to end already. Yeah, I have to go. I'll finish some of the UI components here offline. It won't take me long. I just have to focus on it for a few hours. It'll be done. And then we're going to work a little bit on the battle system here. It's mostly working. There's just a few bugs. That's it. but like you can fire off cannons and stuff and move around. And if I buy a second ship, if I go over here and I buy used ship and I buy like the Hansa cog, and then I go do a battle, I then have 2 ships. The islands are randomly generated. Like a lot of this works. There's just a few little bugs to clean up here. I want to do like I want to show the turn order somewhere. I want to have a little bit of a UI to show the turn order. So who's taking which turn next. So you can kind of plan your moves ahead. There's just some simple UI to add to it. And then the ability to view more detailed information about like the ship you're attacking. So you can do things like determine if you should do like a cannon attack or if you should try and board it. Things like that. And then I have to do the victory condition. So if I just go ahead and just quickly just end this ship. It goes through land. I got to fix that too, I guess. Did I win? No. So it's going to go make its attack. Okay, I'm going to move over here. I'll just do a cannon shot right next to it. There we go. Okay. So this is the victory condition. So you want to, I need to just finish this up. Like you can take ships from the enemy fleet and bring them into your own fleet as long as you have a captain for it. You can take their cargo. You get a bunch of gold from it. You can replenish your own crew, things like this. You can do repairs. So I'm just going to clean up this screen and do that. And then the battle system will be over. And then at that point, it will be strictly mechanics, multiplayer, and story. So we'll need to come up with an intro. We'll come up with like a few intro scenes, set up the character, like stuff like that. So these are really the only 2 things left. So I think probably by next weekend, I might have those 2 things done. The UI, battle quirks, the victory condition here. I guess that's 3 things, not 2. And then from there, we'll work on mechanics and story and multiplayer. So yeah, that should be a bit more fun and interesting and less conspiracy theory ranty. Okay, so that's it. I'm gonna call it there. I do have to go. I didn't realize the time. I was having so much fun chatting with you guys. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody who's watching, and throughout the whole stream. I do appreciate it. Like I said earlier, if you like what I'm doing and what I'm saying, and the message I'm trying to spread, help me out. Help me spread the reach so I can talk to more people about this kind of stuff and argue about these topics more. Like, subscribe, repost, share, all the stuff. It's not about the money. It's about the message. I would much prefer working, building cool stuff and making money through my own efforts than being on stream here and having to black pill everybody into the death of the tech industry chats. But it is what it is, and I will do it for as long as you continue to support me doing that. And I'll do the daily tech news streams every day. I'll still do one on Monday, even though it's a holiday. I might just do it later in the day. Yeah. So thanks for all the support from everybody. I do appreciate it. And stay safe out there, would you? Please stay safe. I want to see you all again on the next stream, on the next chat. Other than that, I'm out of here. Have a good day. Have a good night, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. You guys are awesome. And I will see you again soon. Peace out.